Good afternoon, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. You can see I got Cheshire with me right now, and he's not too happy to be getting the hugs. But today we're going to be doing our first character review of 2P. We're going to be talking about what makes her unique, what makes her powerful. Let's go ahead and dig in. So 2P is like at the top of everybody's tier list, and so many people cannot tell me why she's amazing, why 9S is garbage, what makes 2B unique from 2P. So my goal in this video and in the videos that are to come are to tell everybody what makes these units unique and why they're potentially going to be very powerful if built the right way. Taking a look at 2P, going into her stats, you don't see anything remarkable right away. Even in her rank stats, you just see attack, agility, HP, defense, the normal type of rank buffs. However, if you go up to her first character skill, we kind of get a little inkling. We get a little bit of a peek of who she is as a person. She's going to deal 76% damage to one enemy 5 times, and that modifier is going to increase when your HP is over 80%. So she is going to be a glass cannon type of attacker. Now, when I think about this, things to make her successful, I would think higher HP, maybe a little bit of defense, or you could just dump everything into attack and murder your opponent. In terms of her character abilities, we do have Vigor, which will cap at attack plus 25% on her. And then probably the most important aspect, because there is different types of glass cannons in the world, is her Ascended ability Ambush. Now, her Ascended ability Ambush is critical hit rate up, which does mean she is going to be a critical hit rate beast. Now, this does cap out at critical hit rate up 20%, which is pretty substantial if you do consider the critical hit rate bonus from the weapon that comes with her, as well as the critical bonuses and critical damage modifiers that you can actually get from Memoirs as well. So if I were getting 2P and if I were starting 2P out, the very first thing I would invest in is to try and get her to Ascended Tier 1 to unlock that critical hit rate. You can see my 2P is not at Ascended 1 status yet, and so I am substantially weaker without that secondary passive that really gives her a damage identity. Now, to try and mitigate that, I did put critical hit rate up Memoirs on her. However, it's so substantial to unlock that passive for her that I'm really dying on the inside to try and find a dupe of her and, potentially invest my books in her, whatever it takes. If I have to go to second pity, I will. Let's talk about her weapon though, because her weapon also gives her and kind of solidifies even more her unique identity. It's Mach Type 40 sword, and the ability is going to be 65% damage to one enemy. Cheshire is coming back to bite me again. He wants to be out of the room right now. I think he wants to go eat food. But it's going to be damage to one enemy 4 times. Increase the modifier when HP is below 80%. And then her second ability, which is pretty interesting, considering she's not really a defensive-oriented character, is going to be just 42% damage straight and increases defense by 5.4% for 10 seconds. So it'll help with the survivability for your party. It might help keeping her above 80% HP, but it's kind of interesting that for her unique weapon, she's also getting a defensive-oriented ability. Now, the primary ability is very selfish on this. Lucid Boon is going to increase light damage by 30%. Now, this is great if you have a light element weapon set as your main element weapon. However, that is not always the case. And so effectively, if you are setting this weapon as a sub-weapon, you have to consider that this buff is almost never going to do anything for you. So one of the questions you have to ask when you are building 2P is this weapon worth it as a sub-weapon with just the secondary passive? And I think for now it definitely is, but in the future we might see this weapon potentially be outclassed as a secondary weapon with another passive or better passives to replace it. So what's the secondary passive on her weapon? Well, when you evolve it, you will get another version of ambush. This one is not the same potency as the character skill though. It will cap out at half of what the character skill caps out at critical hit rate up 10%. But again, even unlocking or evolving the weapon to unlock this is going to give her a huge buff in power level. And again, right, the combination of ascending both of these, right, ascending the unit and evolving the sword is going to give you, if you max the abilities out, critical hit rate plus probably about 25%. You won't be able to max it, but you'll be able to get it up pretty high. That is extremely substantial. And let's talk about the final part of her kit, which is going to be Memoirs. And you can see here right now that I have Memoirs set on her for critical hit rate up 15%, because even though I don't have her ascended, I know she's a critical hit rate based unit, and I wanted to kind of try and focus her and get maybe like a sneak peek of the damage potential that she's capable of. And so that is what I've set on her. However, in the future, when I'm looking at Memoirs and what I might be planning for, I might actually be looking at the critical hit damage up, because I'm able to get the critical hit rate potentially as a primary and secondary stat. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it as a primary stat yet, but I'm wondering if it can be. Since I can get the critical hit rate up here, I'm wondering if it would be better to actually go for the critical hit damage up large bonus, since 40% to your critical hit damage is going to be very substantial. So I'm looking now and planning to figure out when the break point is that critical hit rate and critical damage kind of intersect, right? At what critical hit percent rate should you be focusing on critical hit damage? There's also the question we have to ask: is there a cap on critical hit rate? In other games that I played, there has been caps on critical hit rates, right? Maybe you could only cap it at 70% critical hit rate. Maybe you could only cap it at 50%, right? And then at that point, it's really good to focus on critical damage. These are questions I don't know the answer to right now. However, I do know that 2P is going to be a critical hit rate based damage unit, and she's going to be very good at it. And I think that's what I'm really going to be focusing on when I am building her. Last thing to consider here, while we are thinking and talking about 2P, I think is the rest of her secondary weapons. And I do think setting her weapon as the secondary weapon with the critical hit rate on it, if you do have it ascended, is a good idea. What do we set in the other slot? And this is a question that I have been grappling with, but I do think you should be leaning towards agility or towards recast on abilities. Now, I'm not like god tier gamer. I don't know this game as good as, say, other people. I'm still learning every day, but I, with my gamer knowledge, seem to understand that agility is always important. So hopefully that's the right stat to set. That's kind of what I'm prioritizing right now, besides critical hit rate and critical damage. And I really think my 2P is just going to kick some serious ass. If you guys have any feedback or like ideas of how you're building your 2P that might be different, I would love to hear it down in the comment section, or come swing by our Discord at http:// gotta say that, dig.gs/discord, because a lot of you guys just put dig.gs/discord in and it doesn't work because we're all boomers. Come and see us, come talk about it in the Nier section. We are talking and theory crafting Nier all the time right now. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and look forward to more Nier content coming out. See you later.